I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Playing from the Tips, our special AIG Women's Open preview episode presented by Golf Australia magazine. Jimmy Emanuel here in the driver's seat as we prepare to cover all the action from Walton Heath, as well as the first of the FedEx Cup playoff events and LIV Golf's return to Trump Bedminster. First of our so-called experts is like finding a great hole in the land when designing a golf course, a pillar you can build around. You're the pillar of Playing from the Tips, Rod Morrie. Welcome.
Oh, I thought you were talking about playing.
No.
Sorry.
No.
I'm like that scene out of The Castle, Dale dug a hole.
Yeah.
I'm the hole.
You're the hole.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we get there, we see you, and then we build around you.
And if you've seen The Castle, I'm filling up with water. That was the second hole.
That is the second hole, that's right. Next, in our continued search to replace the still missing in action Adrian Logue, we turn to one of the great journos of the Melbourne sports scene, book writer, The Age scribe, former Australian golf media manager, and drink spiller extraordinaire, Martin Blake. Blakey, welcome.
Hello, boys, and that's very unfair, Jimmy. I haven't spilled a drink for
since last summer.
A good 2 days.
I don't think you've been in the media centre for a while, so it's probably why I haven't spilled a drink.
They're always uneven floors. Get that man a sippy cup.
I did knock a fridge over at the Australian Open one year, but I'll tell you about that another day.
That's a note to go out on, isn't it?
That's outstanding. Before we move into this week, a quick reflection on a week where there was a 58 from Bryson DeChambeau, wow. Celine Boutier going back-to-back, and Adam Scott's playoff streak coming to an end.
And Justin Thomas.
But Adam Scott's streak of every year. So,
sorry, I couldn't have. I just found the Justin Thomas coverage way too much by the end of it all. And the histrionic rolling around next to the green. I mean, it's not like he was the shark in 96. That was fair enough. I mean, he missed a chip to get into the playoffs. You still got off it. Had enough.
It was a bit of theatre, I suppose, that event
bang it on.
Sort of is. But yeah, probably.
As my mum would say, don't come the raw prawn with me, Justin. He was bunging it on.
Okay. Did you have a highlight last week, Blakey, from the golf that was on?
I've got to say, DeChambeau's 58 with the birdie to finish was pretty handy.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that about? There's only a handful of times, isn't it, on various tours that it's happened. It's interesting. It's the same course that Stuart Appleby shot 59 a few years ago.
In the last round as well.
Yeah.
So
if you watched it, he was just bombing the ball down. I was reading. It's a debate for another day, but he was saying that his driver that he's using at the moment, it doesn't matter where he hits it on the face, it just turns back into play, which is
all the skills.
The Mike Claytons of the world and the ball rollback people are not going to be thrilled to hear that.
I spoke to him at LIV Adelaide and we're talking about his golf swing and everything he was working on. We spoke for quite a while and it was really interesting, but he spoke about equipment being the big problem and needing to find a driver he could hit all over the face. And I kind of stood there flabbergasted going, isn't the idea to hit it in the middle? But anyway.
The discussion's really about what do you want the game to look like? So you've got a modern take, which is it's about score and hitting it long and those kinds of things. And you've got an old bloke's take like me and Clates and various others who think that's less entertaining. Now, if golf is ultimately just entertainment, what's more entertaining? Bryson hitting it anywhere on the face, which is a long drive competition essentially, or Seve or Lee Trevino working it left to right, right to left, high, low, hitting with spin, those kinds of things. So, look, it depends, I suppose, in some ways what you've grown up on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think so. I think ideally there's space for both.
Look, long hitting's always been part of it. The key to the distance debate is that it's relative. In a world where 280 is long, 300's monstrous.
Of course.
In a world where 300's average, you're now getting to 323. There's a reason that pitch and putt is not the dominant golf product on television.
Absolutely.
Because it's just not that entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the stuff. Anyway.
As a tipping group, can I tell you, we were nowhere near shooting 58.
Didn't you pick Boutier to go back to that?
No.
Or did you just mention
as I was leading into my tip, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Celine Boutier goes back to back. And then I tipped someone else. And so we actually had one top 10, and that was it. So we've had 137 top 10s this year alongside 18 wins.
We're tired.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. We need a break, need a week off.
Absolutely. Anyway,
I think you can live on Boutier for a while there, Jimmy. That's a great effort.
well, I got her at the Evian, so, you know.
That was
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If I had any money, I would have been laughing. But anyway, on to this week. And the main focus is the final major of the 2023 season for men and women, the AIG Women's Open at Walton Heath, where come Sunday we'll then be waiting some 240 days till the next major shot is struck in anger, which is unbelievable. One of the really good things I think personally about the Women's Open is it shares commonalities with the Men's Open, but it has its own identity.
Same.
So it goes and plays some of those links courses we're all very familiar with, and then sometimes it doesn't, like this year. And Walton Heath is going to be one of the stars of the week. Unfortunately, a bit of wet weather in the lead up. We're not going to get it quite as we would like, although it's made the heather and everything absolutely bloom from everything I've seen so far. But Rod, can you tell us a little bit more about Walton Heath?
Look, place of enormous history, and you're right, Jimmy. Anybody who's a regular listener to this show or good will know this is the one I've been looking at. First, check your life choices, and secondly, you'll know this is the one I've really been looking forward to all year. Walton Heath is a really special place. It's out of reach really for the men. You couldn't have a men's open there because it's just not long enough to present the challenge. But for the women, this is absolutely perfect, and particularly for the modern women's game. I think and hope we're going to get an amazing tournament this week. Look, the course itself, the club is a club of great history, obviously. James Braid was a 5-time Open champion, was the pro there for 45 years. Winston Churchill played there. Edward VIII was the club captain before he was king. The royal connections don't stop there. It was designed by Herbert Fowler, who's golf architecture royalty. Did you see what I did there? So
Yeah, that was
royalty and
well
royalty.
done. I liked it,
Never got the royal connection. Didn't get the royal assent as such, did they? Which is funny.
They don't have a royal in front of the Walton Heath, and it's always been a point of view. Why not? If the first captain went on to be, and I don't know the answer to why not, but there you go, makes them stand out. It's no stranger to big time golf, Walton Heath. It's been a while. We did see the British Masters there a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Before that, the 1981 Ryder Cup would have been the biggest tournament they'd held here, won by the Americans convincingly in the second edition since the Europeans came in, and we really haven't seen it that much. There's been some sizable amateur events. Alex Woodward, who's the GM at the club, was on the Golf Club Talk UK podcast earlier this week, and he said this is the biggest event they've ever hosted there, and there's a real excitement about the club. Composite course between the old and the new courses, so there's a bit of a change to the routing. If you're interested, there's a fantastic video on YouTube by Iona Stephen. She plays with the club captain Jill, who's just fantastic. Good player, Iona Stephen. I didn't realize how good a player she is. She really swings
Lovely
it.
person too.
Yeah, and they take you through the course, and really, it's a really good look at the course. Now, when they filmed that, she did a bit where she tapped her iron on the fairway and got the microphone over it, and it was like concrete.
Yep.
You're right. We're not going to get that this week. There's been rain in the lead up, so it'll be a little bit softer. Look, it'll still be interesting. The word you're going to hear probably more than any other this week is heather. So I looked it up in the dictionary. It's a low-spreading bush, usually with small pink, purple or white flowers. Grows wild, especially on hills. That's your English definition. Okay. For golfers, the definition is brutal.
Yeah.
Don't go in there. All the pros will tell you that the problem with heather is the ball looks like it's sitting up and you can hit it. And you swing, so there's a noise, and the ball's 2 feet away from where it started. You just can't get it out. It is brutal stuff. So stay away from it. The course not being firm will work against seeing too many balls in heather. It doesn't tend to fly into the heather generally. It's usually a bounce that'll send into heather. We won't see as much of that this week. But look for some really interesting shots and some really frustrated players. It'll be a fair bit of teapotting.
Oh, yeah.
I would think.
Double teapots, for
double
sure.
teapots.
Yeah.
You might even get a bit of the iron cross.
Yep.
What's it, the log carry?
The log carry.
You might get a couple of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that'll be interesting. Big greens, look for good lag putters this week.
Yep.
You can have some really long putts on this golf course. Although, if it is soft, we know it's been wet. I don't know that it's soft, but if it is soft, that'll work against that somewhat. If it was as firm as it was the day Iona Stephen played it, this would be phenomenal to watch and horrible to play. It was just brutal. So, look, like you said, Jimmy, I like the idea that the Women's Open doesn't just have links. I don't like some of the courses they play. I'm not a huge fan of Woburn for the Women's Open, for example, but this one is different. I think the variety you can get is really good. I've already seen comments this week, it can't be an Open, it's not on a links. It has to be. That's narrow, ignorant, foolish and wrong.
Well, it just purely on sticking on the venue thing. We play Walton Heath this week. Next year they go to the old course. The year after that they go to Royal Porthcawl. That is so good. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about how excited they are for the future US Women's Open venues as well. Something that women's majors are doing magnificently well.
Really, it's exciting.
And it's a genuine reason for excitement that people will tune in to see Walton Heath. And the weather is tipped to get a bit better as the week goes on.
That's right. So the weather will be okay. But also, look, if you're in the camp that says the game's not better off for seeing top elite professionals play at Walton Heath, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
Because you're making the same argument about Royal Melbourne, Sunningdon. We see hardly any heathland golf. Some of the best golf courses in the world. We're just deprived of because the men can't play tournaments there because they're not long enough. So,
absolutely.
Look,
so, Rod, we're going to have to find a winner who controls the ball, right?
Yes, it's going to need to be an all-round player. This really is going to be the cream of the crop. Look, if you're on the LPGA, you can play.
Yes.
There's no question about that. But you're talking at this level, the elite are the ones to look for this week, probably more so. This course will separate the very best from the merely good.
Yeah, and it's probably, I think, Blakey, another one where distance is probably a little bit more important than you might think, given it's damp and given you've got to be hitting into these greens and hitting into the right sections. You need to be as far down as you can be. You can't be one of those shorter knockers that can win a bit more on the LPGA Tour than other places. And that's certainly the players to watch this week. Number one, who we're not going to go past without mention, is Celine Boutier, who is like playing that good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you talk about players who can control their golf ball, like elite, so good. And she's gone and won on a golf course on the side of a hill that is just sort of like plot to plot. She's then gone and won on a links golf course in some pretty nasty weather at times, and now she goes here. So she's number one on the players to watch, but then it's the same sort of list of players. Your Nelly Kordas, Jin Young Kohs, Minjee Lee falls into that category, the top players in the world. A Georgia Hall is definitely one to keep an eye on here. English, good player in all conditions.
Loves playing at home.
Has had some really good results this year so far. Hyo Kim was second again last week. He's playing some really good golf. Same with
dodgy ankle?
Yeah.
Someone said she's got a dodgy ankle?
Yeah, she has, yeah.
The Kims have all got the dodgy
Kims
ankle.
have all gone down with dodgy ankles, yeah. And Ronnie Yin, who won a major earlier in the year and has been playing some really good golf. Look, it's a major, so it's kind of everyone's players to watch. It's also a major that throws up a few surprise winners or certain players who play well in these conditions and that sort of stuff. So you can sort of run your hand across the whole field and say, oh, that's a chance, that's a chance, that's a chance. But we need to pick one each as to who's going to win. So Blakey is making your debut. Let's get your tip for the Women's Open first up.
Well, I like Minjee's chances on that basis of the ball striking. You know, it's going to come back to how she putts.
Yeah.
She's had some terrible trouble with her short putting this year. Richie Smith, her coach, was telling me her mid-range has been okay, but just missing a lot of short putts. So
stop hitting it close,
the player I want to jump out with is Nasa Hataoka from Japan. World top 10 player, very steady. I can just see her grinding it out this week. So I like Nasa this week. And for top Aussie, I think Minjee, there's 6 Aussies in the field, by the way.
Who are they?
Minjee Lee, Hannah Green, Sarah Kemp qualified by finishing top 10 at the Scottish Open last week. Grace Kim's in there as a winner from previously this year. Steph Kiriakou gets in. She might play quite well, Steph. She seems to play well in that sort of windswept. She's always played well in Melbourne, for instance, even though she's a Sydney girl. And Kelsey Bennett got in on from Sydney, got in on qualifying this morning.
Great effort, that.
But I think I'm going to go with Nassar and Minjee as top Aussie.
I like it.
I do too.
I like it. Rod?
I'm going to go with Nelly Korda. I tossed up between Nelly and Jin Young Ko, and I looked at, they're both Australian Women's Open winners in Adelaide on courses that will demand the same sort of imagination and creativity. Conditions different, but I thought Nelly Korda's win in the Australian Women's Open in 2019 was one of the most impressive I've seen. She was hitting bump and run 4-irons from 30 and 40 yards. She was hitting flop shots from just off the... She had all the shots, and we know that she's got all the tools. She's long. She hasn't won one this year. It hasn't been her best year.
Yep.
She will be desperate to get one before the end of the year, and this will really suit her. High ball flight, carries it a long way in the air in soft conditions. She'll be there, whether she wins it or not, but I think she'll win it. Yeah. Top Australian, I can't disagree with Blakey. I think Minjee. This course will separate on 2 fronts. One, the course really sort of demands it. There's a shot over the course of the week in being a better ball striker. It's a major.
Yeah.
And that's another shot and a half. Minjee Lee's got all the experience in that regard, and that takes some of the pressure off. So
I am going to go with Georgia Hall that I talked about before. Mm-hmm. experience playing Heathland golf, has won a Women's Open before, played some really good golf this year without getting a win. She seems really, really close. Form can go a bit up and down, but really, really good game manager, which I think is important around a place like this. If it's a bit damp and stuff like that, she's used to that sort of stuff as well. So I think she'll have a really good week. And top Aussie to be different to you blokes, I'm going to go with Steph Kyriakou.
Good on you.
Because Steph was really, really good last week in patches.
Yep.
She is also a very good player at the Open. She, in her first go, was close to the top of the leaderboard on, I think, a Saturday. She was top 10 last year. And this is the kind of place where if she has one of her freakish ball striking weeks, she's going to be right there.
It's the Kyriakou story, isn't it? In patches. Her good is off the charts brilliant.
I wouldn't ever want to be trying to predict how she's going to play, or I wouldn't want to be the person who has to sit down at the end of every tournament and go, what did we do here? Because it's going to be different every single week.
I would love to see her get it done. She'll win a big one at some point one day. She's a winner. She's got that. She wins when she gets a sniff. It's just
Jimmy. She likes playing the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
I've spoken to her about this before, and she's always like it. Some players kind of get it, and some don't. And she does.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
She's got a great attitude, I find, as well.
Yeah.
When she's on.
Yep.
When she's off, it can maybe.
You don't want to caddy for her when she's shooting.
No. It can go wandering a little bit. But no, I like Steph for the top Aussie. In terms of outside chances, we've kind of had a year of almost outsiders winning majors. True. First time winners.
4 different major winners.
Yeah, exactly.
4 different,
and all first time as well. Yeah. So, have we got an outsider that we like?
I really like Charlie Hull. Is she an outsider is the question. I think she's on the border. She's never really done anything to say that, but by the same token, she's always lurked around. Oh, look, I just can't get past that fabulous call from behind the tree on Pebble Beach, the quiet kids don't get the sweets.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic attitude. She's got that. She'll be feeling at home too, obviously, being in England. She could do anything. Bit Steph Kyriakou like Charlie Hull, actually.
She is, yeah, absolutely.
She can shoot lights out or turn the lights off. This is horrible to watch. Yeah. So, she's going to be my outsider, Charlie Hull.
Blakey, you got an outsider for us?
I'm the same as Rod. I'm not sure this qualifies as an outside, but Ruining Yin from China has won a major already this year. She was third at Scottish Open last week, so she obviously knows how to get round a windswept links course. So I'd be keeping an eye on her. It's interesting, none of us have picked Boutier. I guess we're all thinking, well, she can't win 3 in a row.
Yeah, I think that's just such a big ask to win 3 weeks in a row. The air has to come out of the tyres at some point. You have to pump them back up again, and so it feels to me.
Just before we get your outsider, why do we not talk about Yin? I don't understand why we haven't talked about her. There's something.
I think it's really unfair that we don't talk about her more. And I had a conversation with someone. We're talking about how much Rose Zhang gets. Ruining Yin is younger, and has won a major. And there should be a lot more noise around her. Potentially she doesn't win another major in her career, but
she won
the way she's played is very impressive. So I think she deserves a lot more attention, which I think falls into Blakey tipping her as an outsider. I think that's kind of fair. Like she's won a major, but she's not going to be listed as a bookie's favourite. So
well. They don't often get it wrong, bookies, but if that's the case, they might have got it wrong because you only have to watch her in that.
I've got to say before we finish up that Minjee is due, eh?
Oh,
way overdue. She's not won a tournament since the US Open last year.
Yeah.
That's a long streak for her.
I mean, last week was crazy. She opened with 80 and then went 66 on the second round.
Which I think really bodes well for this week. She's found something there, obviously.
But that's been the problem. It's kind of Adam Scottish where she has one round that's not just 72, it's 74, 75, 76, and it takes her out of the tournament. Exactly. And it's just, you can't come back from there.
As Blakey said, here's the advice, Minjee. Stop hitting it close.
Yeah, that's right. Hit it to mid-range. You can putt from mid-range.
You can hold them all from mid-range. Stop hitting it close.
I like it.
I guess as we all know with links golf, Open Championship type golf, you can lose a tournament in a day. You can't win it in a day, but you can lose. You can play yourself out of it.
Absolutely.
First day, Thursday afternoon, it gets windy and you shoot at 81, you're gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
my outsider is Maya Stark.
Yeah, good call. Another Kyriakou / Hull type player. Super aggressive. Has never seen a flag that she doesn't want to go.
Exactly. So, that's the potential is that she can have that bad day, but I think she's quite
It's the Mickelson school, isn't it? She's got the ability to pull it off 80% of the time.
And played well last week as well. So that's all of our tips for the women's.
I'm going to say
open.
the name Lynn Grant just in case.
Yeah,
every week I'm going to say Lynn Grant just in case because she's going to win.
We love her golf swing.
That's right. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Let's go back stateside quickly for the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs event. By the way, for anyone writing about it, FedEx Cup is one word. Capital F, capital E, capital C. I don't like
Cup
that.
is one word? FedEx
Cup. No, FedEx Cup.
Not
one
FedEx
word.
Space Cup.
No.
Is that a new thing?
No, that's how it's been the whole time. So pay attention.
Ooh, FedEx Cup?
Yeah, that's right.
How can you you can't just make up words. FedEx Cup? That's not a word.
That's the way it is.
Well, I'm not happy about this.
The bigger question would be how much people actually care about it.
Well, that's right.
Funny you should say that.
Rod,
I'm going to be careful with that.
tell us about it.
Well, before we start, project to next year, the winner of the FedEx Cup will get $25 million. Make the business case that that's sustainable for me, and I'm all in.
Yeah.
That's absurd. $25 million for winning the FedEx Cup. Okay. This week, first time we're down to 3 events of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Of course, we culminate with the handicap A and B flight event at East Lake for the Tour Championship, which is just fantastic. So thanks for that, PGA Tour, for really elevating the game with that stuff. This one, the FedEx St. Jude Championship now, used to be the FedEx St. Jude Classic. Actually got a really interesting history. This is the Memphis Open, essentially, of all those years ago. It's the major sponsors event in the major sponsor's hometown. So this is a big week for the Tour brass.
Yeah.
If they've just convinced them to put up $25 million for the FedEx Cup next year, you'd have to think relations are good. But I'm with Blakey. I wonder whether this is cut through. The problem with playoffs, I think, in golf is it becomes about mathematics rather than golf. And who wants to do maths as a recreation? This has been the problem for the FedEx Cup all along. That final Sunday every year since 2007 when they started has been Steve Sands with a whiteboard and a marker drawing lines here and square root of this. And so, I'm not interested, mate. Who's going to win the golf? So I think it's problematic, and it still is. This is the first year they've cut to 70 for the first of the events instead of 125. Who complained about that last week? Was it Glover? Was it Lucas Glover who wasn't happy about the...
Don't know. He won, so he should.
I know he won. He got in. He was the only one who played his way in from outside. But I think he complained about it. He wasn't happy about the cut from 120. Anyway, we go 70, 50 the following week, 30 at the Tour Championship. It's a stacked field, no surprise. Rahm, Scheffler, McIlroy, that's been the story all year. It's clearly going to continue this week. They've tweaked the point system again, so you get quadruple points for the play events. I don't know what the point of that is. I'd have to do some maths.
Yep.
Doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Look, I feel like I say this a lot about the PGA Tour, and I'm sorry to say it again, but the course at TP Southwind is what you'd expect for a PGA Tour event. It's a TPC course. There'll be no surprises for the players. Look, it hasn't been an amazing scoring course over the years, sort of low double digits, somewhere between 10 and 13, 10s to win. There's a few blowouts from time to time, so it's obviously got plenty of challenge. It'll be interesting.
Water out there, Rod, yeah.
Bit of water out there. Look, it'll be interesting to watch because it's the best players in the world playing golf. And that would be interesting to watch if you went to Sandy Links or Mangrove Mountain. But, you know, it's not going to be like what we're going to see at Walton Heath. There isn't that sort of excitement. I'd tell you what I did find this morning, which I didn't know before. St. Jude is the St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Correct.
This was a relationship that started in 1969. There's a TV star I'd never heard of called Danny Thomas. Mm-hmm. They wanted him to attach his name to the tournament, and he said, only if you make the St. Jude Children's Hospital the chosen charity. That was in 1969.
Wow.
Now, I didn't look up the figure, but I can only imagine how much money has gone to the St. Jude Children's Hospital since 1969. So
a lot of player visits and stuff during the week.
Exactly. And they were always interesting because they're PR opportunities. We've been on plenty of these over time, haven't we, Blakey? You go on these PR opportunities, but when they go to places like the kids' hospital, you see the players be actual humans because nobody can walk into one of those places and not be affected. Yep. They all come out different. They all come out going, wow. Mm. 3 putts just don't seem to matter.
That's right.
Sick kids. So look, this is a good event. I feel bad talking it down a bit, but it's a good event. It's got good history. It does a good thing in the community. It's just part of something which is hard to get on board with. Anyway, FedEx have had 2 goes at being sponsors, 86 to 07. Then they picked it up again in 2011 after, what was that Ponzi scheme? Was it the Stanley Group?
Stanford Group,
yeah.
Stanford Financial. Big on VJ and Stenson.
I was going to say, more than one player lost a lot of money in the Stanford Group.
That's right.
It'll be a good watch, as I said. It's just the problem is it's leading into something that's just it's a joke. The Tour Championship at East Lake. I just can't get excited about the lead up to that because of what it is at the end. So
I think it's funny. I mean, last week I noticed there was more interest in who was going to get through to the playoffs and stuff than there has been.
Yeah.
but then it hits a bit of a roadblock with it, becomes difficult to understand. And
that was partly because of the who too.
Yeah.
Scott and Thomas are profile players. Normally there's someone around that 70, but I mean, Ben Griffin was the bloke who ended up getting in. It wasn't much about him except that he was the one who was going to get knocked out if they got in. So
Cam Davis and Jason Day, the only Aussies to make it through to the playoffs this year.
good on them.
So let's get some tips. Blakey, whose coach have you spoken to for this one?
I haven't, but I'm thinking that Brian Harmon might win.
Okay.
You know, coming back after the Open win, sensational win. I just got a feeling about him this week. For top Aussie, here's one for you. Cam Davis finished tied 5th last year at this venue in this event. So maybe Cam Davis will play okay this week. I mean, as the year goes, Jason Day has definitely had a better season.
No
you know,
question.
with the Chris Como influence, he looks really good, Jason. So you never know. I think he's 11th on the FedEx Cup. So no Australians have ever won the FedEx Cup. Maybe he's the chance to do it this year.
He's got the pedigree.
I'm going to go with Brian Harmon, and I'll go with Cam Davis as leading Australian.
I like it.
Brian
Rob?
Harmon, full of fresh deer, no doubt, after celebrating his win at
Imagine he's eaten a lot of his own kills.
Take the arrow out and get the thing cut up and ready to go. I'm going John Rahm because he's John Rahm, and he's John Rahm.
Nice. Yeah. I'm going with Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh, nice call.
Played well at the Open, but the biggest heartening thing was that when I was scrolling through my phone this morning, preparing diligently like I do for this podcast, I saw he went and took a fly-in visit with Butch Harmon before he went to Memphis.
Go, Tommy.
So
just the flags around Butch Harmon's practice bay there in the undercover area.
Tommy.
Whew. Talk about inspiration.
And had his lesson in pants, so he's obviously in tournament mode, whereas Butch had shorts on, and I wish I hadn't seen that, but that's okay. In terms of the Aussie, I think Jason Day is going to be the best we've got, and I think he'll give it a bit of a shake. Cam Davis, though, genuine chance.
Yeah, he had that lull, didn't he, Jason? He won in Texas, and there was this weird lull, but then he was back in the Open.
It was very, very good. So I like what we're seeing from Jason, and hopefully he might come home and play a little bit, which would be exciting.
There's been an attitude change there for Jason, it feels like, too. He's got back that drive.
Absolutely.
He felt like he lost that because he's in pain and those things, but he feels like he's got it.
Numerous times I've heard and written about, when he got to world number 1 and didn't know what to do with himself. That was all he'd ever worked for.
Problem.
Yeah, that's right. And he's found something, and having another child.
I was going to say that wouldn't hurt.
Paying for all the kids is probably what the thing is. Ask Aaron Badley. Finally, LIV Golf has consecutive weeks of action. This week shifting from West Virginia to New Jersey and the Donald Trump-owned Bedminster.
First time ever? Back-to-back for them?
They've done it a couple of times.
Have they? Okay.
They've done a couple of times.
Of course they did. They went Adelaide, Singapore, didn't they?
Yeah. Only I think the second time, though, they go back to a venue. So they did that at Centurion, and then they're doing that this week. So Donald Trump-owned Bedminster in New Jersey that, like anything with Donald Trump's going to get a bit of controversy during the week. It's not necessarily a classic by any stretch of the imagination. About 2 hours drive out of Manhattan. Used to be known as Lamington Farm. There's a fact.
And I thought you made those in an oven.
No.
They grow. There's farms.
And do you know who used to live there? John DeLorean, maker of the DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
There you go.
There you go.
More facts.
There's a story.
Tom Fazio designed what is the old course at Bedminster. There's like a bit of an island green, huge white sand bunkers, good playing surfaces, trees, water.
It's Bedminster.
It's exactly kind of what you'd expect it to be. It produced an interesting tournament last year. Henrik Stenson won here last year. It has hosted the
US Women's
Open. It's a good tournament venue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably one of the better tournament venues they play, although last week was pretty good. Definitely Greenbrier, you could see, was set up a little bit easier than when it had the PGA Tour. That's kind of understandable with 3 rounds. You want the scores to be kind of equitable. You want birdies in this live format and everything like that. In terms of all the other details of it, it's the same players we get every week, so we all know all that. Same thing with all the team stuff.
So who's going to win?
My Torquay GC that
Torquay? I'm still
Torquay that I was given by the team picker.
Yeah, I got Majestics.
And they won again last week.
Right.
So
how are my Majestics going? I haven't checked in for a while.
No, not good.
Blakey, who are you on? Go on the LIV website and they'll tell you who to follow.
DeChambeau. I mean, the way he's hitting it, DeChambeau wins, surely.
I don't think. No
chance.
I think Dustin Johnson.
I think he's turned a corner.
I think DeChambeau has turned a little bit of a corner. I think he will play better golf. I think it won't be as forgiving for him here. So I think Dustin Johnson, was second last year here. he wants to play Ryder Cup. And the only way he's going to really impress is by maybe winning a couple of these things and getting attention. I still don't think it'll likely happen. But I think Dustin is kind of made for this one this week.
What a shame you've all got it wrong, because Matt Wolff is going to win it.
Matt Wolff?
It's the return of Matt Wolff. It's the redemption story of the year, having been kicked in the guts by Brooks Koepka.
Yep.
He's produced one good round. He's ready to go on with it.
Okay.
I don't know. Because...
Well, and in terms of, obviously, there's the 4 Australians there. Jed Morgan's got some work to do. He has dropped into that relegation zone and is not a place you want to be.
Hey, this is how league golf is going to work. These are the stories that, like, we had the who's going to miss the FedEx Cup playoffs last week. This is the live story: is someone you like is going to get relegated.
Yeah, so you've got Jed, who holed out for an eagle last week and actually played some decent golf at times. Him, Chase Koepka, and C1 Kim have the work to do. I think C1's year might be gone, to be fair.
So how does that work, Jimmy? I'm not even across that. Like the elimination of players. Is it a discretionary thing or
no? Oh, well, it's
semi.
It's semi. I think discretionary.
Mickelson and DJ cannot be relegated. There is rules supposedly, but I think it'll be worked out as it goes. Your bottom 3 who are eligible for relegation will go down, and your top 3 from the international series, the Asian Tour, will come up.
Yeah, and
then someone's got to pick them up for the team. There's all sorts of drama about that.
Exactly how it works out, I'm not too sure, but we'll wait and see.
Look, what they've got on their side, Liv, is they can literally make up the rules as they go along.
Yeah,
they can do whatever they want.
Absolutely. I mean, Jed is obviously very close with Cam and has been chosen to come and do it, so I'll be interested to see how that would go. But the more interesting one in that relegation zone is Chase Koepka. You would be doing everything not to upset Brooks. So,
that's right.
But, it might be tell his brother to play better. Who knows?
Did it to Matt Wolff.
Yeah, exactly.
Possibly.
Cam Smith is probably a walk-up start top Aussie, isn't he?
Oh, you'd have to think so.
Matty Jones played okay last week.
Matt Jones did play well. Mark Leishman's been playing some decent golf too. So I'd take Leish to be the top Aussie. I like that.
Okay.
Good guy.
Do we have to have a top Aussie?
Yeah, why not?
Jed Morgan.
Jed Morgan.
It's the Matt Wolff, Jed Morgan double this week. Tipped by R. Murray.
I love it.
Get your house and put it on that.
Gamble responsibly.
Not my house. Your house.
That will do us for episode 26 of Playing from the Tips. Blakey, you've been a magnificent addition.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Rod. Nice to be here. This is my debut.
It is your debut.
Very honoured.
Yeah, you'll get an invite back. Logue seems to have a lot of commitment, so you'll be on the roster of those who get to come back.
Rod, you've been yourself, and that's all that matters.
That's all I can do.
That's right. You can keep up to date with all these tournaments and much more on our website, golfaustralia.com.au, where you can also sign up for our newsletter that will be sent daily this week with updates from the AIG Women's Open, things like tee times, profiles on the Australians, any news and views from the tournament as well. And we will be back next week on Playing from the Tips.